morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this world. My name's Jade, and this is The Odd Couple Rant. And today, I'm joined by my very, very dear friend, Pete Johns, and we're going to talk about self-care. Are you doing all the things to look after yourself? Or maybe we can help. Or maybe not. Or who knows. But we're all just a work in progress, apparently. And let's hear all about that from Wolfstone Studio and Pete Johns. Let's urge!
Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out.
Nobody's knowing all they can. Not everything will go to plan. You might be set up, or you might get better. Maybe just need a helping hand.
Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. We all have doubt and things to know and learn about. That we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out.
When everything just seems so hard, you need to strive and you'll go far. It's hard to grow up, but if you show up, you'll shine and they'll see what you are.
Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. What we know, we all have time, the room to grow. Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out.
The shame and pain you feel inside, perfectionist is why you hide.
Trust in yourself and you will see you're not alone. Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. With what we know, we all have time and room to grow. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. 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 Nobody's got it figured out.
Apparently, nobody's got it figured out, but we're here to try and figure it out, aren't we, today? That's what we're going to try and do, or maybe not, or maybe we're just going to talk a lot of bollocks. Who knows? But welcome to the show. My name is Jade, and this is The Odd Couple Rant, and we do this normally once every month, but we've had to do it twice this month because, well, I took a holiday, and the artist I had who I was supposed to interview today has gone on tour. So... and I couldn't really interview them from Brisbane, so luckily I've got my favourite friend who always comes in off the bench to help me out because he's an absolute legend. I can see him with a little wry smile on his face over there in the waiting room, Peter Johns. But quickly, I need to do this because today's episode is, of course, sponsored by our good friends at DistroKid, and DistroKid is one of those amazing services. It's the one, it's the only, it's the one that I've been going with since a very long time, 2016 or something like that. Who knows? how long, but it feels like a long time. It's nearly 10 years I've been with DistroKid. That is pretty stonking. And they can release your music for you by offering such a ridiculously low price of $22.99 annually for one artist, and you get to upload unlimited songs, unlimited lyrics, Spotify check marks, royalty splits with your collaboration friends, 21 tools to promote yourself, and you can do it all through the iOS or Android app as well. Pretty fair deal. And if you use my link that Thomas Christ has just slammed into the chat because he's a legend, it's down in the description below, you'll get 7% off your first year. It's distrokid.com/VIP/Jade Starr. They also have two other tiers, Musicians Plus, where you get two artists if you're greedy. And if you're super greedy like me and have like a million bands, well, you can do the ultimate plan and you get five artists, and you can get extra ones on top, like a tier, like an a la carte system. And that is $89.99 for the ultimate, $39.99 for the Musicians Plus. We'll talk a little bit more about DistroKid as we go on with the show. See, they're a sponsor. Stop looking at my boobies. Anyway, let's bring him on. It's Pete Johns. He's the man from Studio Live today. He's the man from Studio. That sounded so weird. He's the man from Studio Live today. Let's bring him on and stop the nonsense. And then we'll say hello to all of you guys. Let's bring on Peter Johns. Hello.
Hi. In fact, that's what's on my business card on my LinkedIn profile. It's like Studio Live today, where it's got like CEO or director. Mine just says the man.
The man, the man from YouTube.
It's very weird when I go to other countries. They're like, "What's your occupation?" I'm the man.
You are the man, Pete. I'm going to crank up your volume here a little bit.
Oh, do I need? Yeah. If you need me to come up, I can.
Yeah, try it. You're a little bit low today.
I'll come up. I'm a bit low. Maybe I'm feeling a bit low.
All right.
Let's bring up my gain a little bit. How's that sounding?
There we go. Good.
Nice.
And hello, everybody in the chat. Thanks for joining us. We'll give you individual We'll do that now. We normally do it a little bit later.
Yeah.
Let's call people out. We got Leelaverse here. We got Capsulam. Hello, Capsulam. Gordon Lee Weaver. We've got G-May in the house. G-May's got a massive show coming up this week on the weekend, celebrating our dear departed friend, Kurt, who passed away, and there's heaps of artists playing. There's like a million artists. I'm one of them. Very excited. And so maybe Thomas will slap a link in there, because I'm not trying to push it, Thomas, but I know how much. He's probably already doing it. That's how good Thomas is. Jenny Joliffe is here. Chad Freeman, Tremor Bear. Ali is in the house. We've also got, who else? Mark Rowe is rocking it. Audible Video, g'day. Who else did I see up the top here? Have I missed anyone? Paying to Get. G'day, Paying to Get. Hugh Caldwell, of course. Love Hugh Caldwell. If I've missed you, it's only because my little scrolly thing doesn't go up. John Swanson, g'day. G'day. That was a bit abrupt. G'day. Just stop. Hello. What is going on?
Well, it is. Yeah. So it was saying codgers. We're on codgers here. It's like, who have we got here? Oh, a lot of lovely young people.
Pete, all right. So hello, everybody. Right. Now, I ask everybody to do this. It's tiresome. Most people know you already, but there may be some people who I'm already always getting new subscribers. And hey, if you're a new subscriber, we're averaging like 150 subscribers a month at the moment, which is pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So if you're new, this guy over here, this is Pete Johnson. He's going to give me a 1-minute elevator speech on just who the bloody hell he is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
My name is Pete Johns, and I'm the man. My name is Pete Johns. Studio Live today is my YouTube channel, and it's just turned 9, so it's going through those awkward preteen years right now. What I do on my YouTube channel is help folks like you create, record, and release your best music, and we do that through tips and tricks and tutorial videos and live streams and podcasts and all the rest of it. I'm big on community. I'm big on the power of people to help each other out and to help everyone create their best music. And I like to celebrate that by playing people's music on my flagship show called Your Music Live, which we do every Sunday afternoon and evening right here on the channel, where we play about 40 of your awesome independent home recorded tunes. So it's kind of the full gamut. You come in, I show you my garage band, I tell you how to get started and get creative and do the technical stuff, and then do the releasing with DistroKid, and then we celebrate it by showcasing everyone's music. It's a good old time. StudioLiveToday.com.
Brenda, Yeah, can we have less coffee in Pete's office, thanks? Yeah, okay. He's already on his second cup.
I'm the man.
Pete Johns, he's a legend. What can I say? He's he's the man who inspired me to get here and do this stuff on YouTube as well. And still inspires me to do many things. Like, that's what it pretty much has inspired this show, because this week I saw you the week before go and take a holiday, Pete, and just go, you know what? Bye-bye.
I'm out.
And I thought, wow, I might do that too. What, did you come back from your holiday, Pete, and feel like you needed another fucking holiday?
Yeah, I kind of did. So I actually snuck in 2 small holidays. So I went on a cruise back in, when was that? December. So I was away for 3-4 days then, and then I thought, well, the only thing better than 1 holiday is 2 holidays. So it was that was the start of the school holidays, and at the end of the school holidays, went away with the family again to this time to Sydney, just for a little vacation away.
Jelly.
Went and saw Hamilton, which was just fabulous.
Yeah, how many times have you seen that?
I've only seen Hamilton twice. So I saw it once in Melbourne, and then I saw it once there in Sydney. It's left Australia now, so I had to sneak in one more watch, because I'm a bit of a musical theatre fan. My wife is a huge musical theatre fan, but I dig it as well. And yeah, a bit of culture for the kids. So get them off the screens for a few hours and actually watching some live performance and live music, which was cool. Did all the touristy stuff around Darling Harbour and went to the Opera House. Did a tour of the Opera House, which was awesome.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Inspiring, and I could talk for days about it, because it was really interesting. Great tour. They showed us through all the different rooms. The fact that they can amplify that thing just with the natural amplification of the room. They need 0 microphones and speakers and things that just kind of go, yeah, music has and always will be pretty awesome. It doesn't all need to be electronic and electrified all the time. And yeah, just had some nice quiet time. And now back to school, back to work, and everything sort of back onto the routine. But yeah, it is super important to break things up. You can kind of feel like you're on a treadmill, don't you reckon, Jade? Sometimes week in, week out, especially doing the sort of stuff we do.
Yeah. And, it was a great idea to go take a holiday. And I know people are going, yeah, but you're going to film 2 episodes of Walk With Me. And I was like, yeah, but people go on holidays all the time, take cameras. So it's all right. But then I didn't factor in the show's called Walk With Me. And I end up in 2 days, Pete, walking 31 kilometres. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling pretty good today.
Your dogs are barking.
The old legs, mate. Whew. That was pretty brutal. And I stupidly wore flip-flops the whole time. So, because I was walking on the beach and I didn't want to have to take runners off anyway. You'll see in the episode that one of them's dropping tomorrow. So, but it's good, because now I have 2 episodes, one in the bank, which will come out next week, and I can just go on my little walks during the week. We've had a few more people join us. Clayton Von Clues is in the house. Martin Kelly's here. Russ 8889. Jenny's puts. I didn't know there was a thong emoji. Wow. And it's actually flip-flops. Wow. Awesome. No. Very Australianised. Dell's here. Semtex Cow. I think I saw Joey Helpish in the house. Did I? I did. I saw Joey Helpish, who's
Joey?
He's joined us since the TikTok exodus. No, he has.
What's the latest on that? I can't keep up.
Dude, it's, who cares? America's a sinking ship. Let's all just back China. We were talking about that before the show, weren't we? I'm with China now. Ivan Ideas here in the house as well. Who knows what's going on in America? So I can't even follow it, man. It's too much. My head hurts. Greg O'Sullivan. Well, Greg, we haven't seen you for a while. Hello. Hope you're doing well, Greg.
Gregory O'Sullivan.
Just thinking of Greg the other day. I got to meet Greg when I did a Walk With Me. I got to hang out with him, and when I went to Bacchus Marsh, where I grew up.
Well, yeah, I think I'm in a little trouble, because when Manny was in Adelaide from the Lily Pillies, he let me know he was here, and we caught up and had a coffee and had breakfast. And then when I'm in Sydney, do I return the favour? No, ghosted him.
Evil.
Yeah, and look, it is weird, but yeah, when I go away, I know. this is going to sound wanky, but I kind of learnt early on. So you know this, Jade, but one
Yes.
time I went away and I had someone who was being very unnice to me, who was hitting my emails and my DMs and saying some bad things, and it kind of shook and rattled me for a little bit. So I made the call then that I separate out my family time when I'm traveling, and I don't announce it and I don't tell people where I'm going and when I'm going. Not to be a big like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with the people. But yeah, it just makes me, it gives me that separation, that sort of church and state, that work and life separation. So as much as I would love when I go to Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane and places, I know there's plenty of very fine folks there that I'd love to catch up with. Hopefully you understand why I don't make it public, because yeah, and that's why, you know, I'll get back and people will be like, oh, I didn't know you were in this place, because I don't post on the socials and all that sort of thing. And that's a self-care thing for me. So I guess it's relevant and related to what we're chatting about today.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to protect yourself. You know, doing walk with me as well too. You're walking around places, and I remember when I did the first season, I was leaving my house each day and shooting around the area where I live. So I had to each episode walk like a fair distance and start at this certain point. So I'm not like walking out the front door going, "Hi everybody, here's where I live." By the way, and even when I went away this weekend I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to a hotel. All right, nobody's going to see this episode until a few days later. So I think it's all right. I could film the hotel and, you know, hey, Capsalam, thank you for the 200 sec. What is that worth? I have no-
Swedish krona?
Is that what
she's
it is?
from Sweden?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I think that's krona, isn't it?
I don't know what it equates to.
Testing. Oh, I think it's $4,000 Australian. Yeah, so well done.
I'm going on
There you go.
another holiday.
You can retire from the channel for the next month.
Leela says it's about $18. Holy hell.
that's fine.
Well,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Capsalam. I love you, Capsalam.
I only know that because I read those Girl with the Dragon tattoo books, and they were always talking about krona, and they were always talking about eating sandwiches. So now when I think of Sweden, I think of krona and sandwiches.
Well, $18 equates to Australian probably about $2,500 also.
Yeah, it's funny. People are like, "Oh, the Australian dollar's really bad," and I'm just like, "Yeah, but when you're a YouTuber, you get paid in USD. So when the conversion rate goes down, it actually helps out for folks like us."
So, Pete, let's kick off. Now, I told you this in the beginning. I'm going to be completely honest here.
Sorry.
So while I was away, I was like, you know what? Let's try something different for this rant, and let's ask ChatGPT to write me today's show. But at the same time, because I know ChatGPT is pretty good for doing this kind of stuff. Give me bullet points on a subject. It's a YouTube show, and I'm doing it with this guy here, and it actually knew who you were, and it knew who I was, and it understood that we were both YouTubers and both make music, so that's cool. And what I also did was I did the same prompt into DeepSeek, the new Chinese competitor. And the interesting thing was that they both came up pretty close, except DeepSeek came up with a bit more. It gave me more information without me having to prompt it to expand further. Nice. So they were both about the same, but I had to press ChatGPT and go, hey, you got a little bit more for me, you know? Yeah, so I had to squeeze it a bit. But then I took both of them and edited myself because
You always need to, because you can't take AI out of the box.
Because I'm a fucking Virgo.
Well, I don't know. Even as a Pisces, I think I wouldn't accept the flaws and the failures of some of the AI stuff. It's good, it's fine, but it doesn't do it all.
Yeah, I was half expecting to see like, all right, it gave me the first point: mental health and creativity, avoiding burnout. Donald Trump is a legend. What? How did that get in there? You know, it has these moments where it freaks out and says a bunch of weird shit. So, all right, let's start off with that very subject. So, mental health and creativity. I'm going to throw 3 points at you about this: burnout, managing imposter syndrome, and creative breaks.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about burnout.
Yeah.
Now, it's not the video game. All
I
right.
don't think I ever played that.
Come on, it's an
was a bad
80s Sega classic.
Really? I was an outrun guy. Yeah, burnout. So it's kind of been To be honest, it's almost been memeified by the fact that almost every YouTuber in the history of the world now has that one video that says, "I'm done," or "I'm quitting," or "It's over," and it's in lowercase, and it's them just like with frowning, and then you play the video, and then it's like, "Yeah, a deep dark place," which is why I decided to discount my course to only $27. So that kind of disappointed me because of taking, as soon as something becomes popular and people are doing it, unfortunately, people start kind of taking the piss out of it, which isn't good because it's a serious thing. So burning out, you can burn out in anything. You can burn out in a relationship. You can burn out in a workplace, in a job that you're doing that's a 9-to-5er. And I think one of the challenges with burning out for a creator is quite often we are very alone and independent, and we spend a lot of time within up in your own brain, but also by yourself. And I think that's why those things were all related, because taking breaks is definitely a cure, or at least something that will help you avoid burnout, and doing things different. So you and I talk about this a lot, that you need to refresh things. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, blah, 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 definition of insanity. But yeah, being able to realize when things are getting stale, and you'll know it. You'll know it earlier than you think. It's kind of like dehydration. You know how they say by the time you're thirsty, you're actually dehydrated?
Yep.
So it's about learning the early warning signs. Don't wait till you're burnt out or burning out. Identify when you're starting to grow stale of something, when something feels like more effort. Like, it's always going to require effort. Doing Walk With Me and then getting back and editing hours and hours of footage, I'm sure you go, ugh, but then you sit down and do it, you enjoy it, and the end result is good. If you got to the point where you couldn't motivate yourself to even get up, and you just like, every time you look at the drive full of gigabytes of files, it just makes you cringe, that's the time to go, maybe this is something that I should pause. And again, not stop, but pause. I think that's the big thing, that a lot of people go black, white. So a lot of people said, I'm burnt out from creating music, so I'm going to stop. And they delete their entire back catalogue. They close their accounts. They close their YouTube. They quit Facebook. And then 3 months later, they're like, oh, wish I hadn't have done that. So yeah, taking a break, but sometimes just hitting the pause button and going and doing something. We've talked about this a heap of times.
Yeah.
I said to you last night, I'm like, so we're doing a self-care episode. Does that mean I get to go and just play video games and drink coffee, and then we'll talk tomorrow? And I did. So yeah, I think taking breaks and taking time away from things, doing something different, and yeah, starting to identify within yourself. And I say at the end of every show I do, look after yourself, look after others, keep creating. And it has to be in that order. So it has to be self-care first, and then it's like the airplane thing. You got to fit your own seatbelt before you help children, and you go, same with the oxygen mask
Screw
and
the
stuff.
children, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they're fit. They can deal with it.
Exactly. You need to be strapped. You need the oxygen. They can breathe. It's fine. So yeah. So what say you,
Pete,
Jade? Agree with me, or do you completely disagree?
I agree. Look, I've burnt out so many times in the last 4.5 years doing this, but I've been able to, you've got to pay attention to your body at all times. Yeah. Being a vocalist, being a guitarist, if your hands are hurting, if your voice is not right, what are you eating, if you're sleeping enough, all these things are super important. And when it comes to burnout, when I know I'm burning out on YouTube, I know because I start getting angry at the smallest fucking things. Like and that's normally, I've hit that 4-month burnout period, and it has become cyclical, not cyclical, whatever. Every 4 months, I know it's going to be like, I'm ready to start throwing things at the wall. And this time around, I took a break because I think next week I'm going to be angry. Mm. And I actually preempted it because I felt we're in this 4-month period. Maybe I should go away. And I don't know if it worked or not, but it doesn't matter. And the other thing you talk about video games, we have talked about this a lot. Since moving into this new place, I have moved to the whole thing of I used to take a break and then play video games for a week or so and do less. Now I just play video games every day and do less. And, fit in my nap every day, my video games, watch a bit of YouTube. So I have time for everything now. And doing YouTube has kind of been pushed back a little bit. I used to get in my head all the time, Pete, if I don't get this video out, people are going to be mad at me. I don't know how I got to that point. And,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've ever had somebody message me in 4.5 years of doing this and go, "Oh, that video didn't come out, I'm leaving." Instead, I've had that Gladys Worthington show you did was absolutely horrible, I'm leaving. So maybe less Gladys.
And it ties into imposter syndrome, which is the other thing that
Yes.
our AI overlords mentioned, which can cause a lot of that. Like a lot of the burnout comes from the overthink, and I've talked about overthinking a lot. I'm an overthinker. I'm a card-carrying overthinker because a lot of us creative, especially creative introverted types, but also extroverts, you overthink things because you're constantly putting things out into the world, and you're constantly inviting feedback, and basically every time you release something to the world, you're inviting feedback, and you can do that in a negative way, which is what you see on social media with people comment fishing, where they just put out some cryptic thing, hoping that everyone will jump on and start reacting to it. But it can also be everything that you do. So every time you put out a video, people are going to start watching it and commenting on it, and that's where the imposter syndrome can kick in, especially if a few times some people have come back at you. And one of the times where I didn't burn out, but it impacted my mental health and made me reconsider what I was doing was one time I was brazen enough that Logic Pro had just released a new feature, which was their spatial audio. And I thought, hey, I want to go have a play with this. And I jumped in and played with it. I'm like, this is really hard to just work out how to do it. So I'm like, I'm a YouTube educator. I had trouble with this. Other people probably are too. So I did an 8-minute video, like I do, middling length video that just said, hey, Logic Pro's got a new thing. I don't know anything about spatial audio, but it's kind of cool. You can do like 5.1 channel audio within Logic Pro. Here's how to set it up, and here's how to enable it. And then you get to move things around. Look at these cool icons. And there was one particular creator on a channel who, let's just say, has very long technical videos about Logic Pro.
Right.
And they absolutely took me to town. And you know nothing about this. You've clearly got no knowledge of this. And I'm like, I don't think I ever claimed that I did, but okay. And how dare you give this? You're giving false information. You're telling people the wrong things. And spatial audio is not Dolby Atmos 1.9, it's Dolby Atmos 2.7, and all this sort of technical stuff that wasn't the purpose of the video. So he'd completely missed the point. And at the time, I remember thinking, the logical part of my brain knows that I need to just ignore this and move on with my life. But guess what? Your logical part of your brain doesn't always weed out. And sometimes you can get 10 pieces of positive, we all know this, you get 10 pieces of positive feedback, you get that one piece of negative feedback, and what do you focus on? You focus on the negative. So for me, it was tough. But again, the good thing was, I took my own advice. I didn't respond. I didn't respond with the words that were in my head and in my mouth that I was immediately going to react with. So I stopped and paused and walked away, did something else for a while, and came back. And then I'm like, I'm going to be the bigger person here. I'm going to show, because I realized that when I respond publicly, and this is something that I've tried to learn, don't always get it right, try to learn. People are not judging, like I could have a go at this one person, but people are judging me based on my reactions to things as much as they are my initial stuff. So rather than go, you're a complete a-hole and you can go F yourself, I said, thanks for the feedback. My intention with this video was to show folks who, like me, who didn't have this understanding exactly how to get in and get started with it. You're right, I don't have the knowledge and the detailed stuff that you have. And I highly recommend that if people want to dive into it in more detail, they go and watch your channel. And I'm like, didn't feel great at the time because I did want to tell this person to go and take a long jump. But at the end of the day, people then saw that from me, and guess what? That created a whole other comment stream under my comments where my community came in and said, hey, dickhead, leave Pete alone.
Yeah.
And he then went and deleted the comment because he then got the folks that came in. And as opposed to if I stood up for myself, you can't talk to me like that, I think it could have had a negative impact. Whereas I think the community, and look, they didn't do it in a bad way because the people around here are awesome. They were just constructive and correct and factual and said, they gave him a well, actually, if you listen in the first minute and a half of the video, Pete clearly clearly says that he doesn't have any experience with this, and he gives you the caveat that don't take his word on any of the technical stuff. So, yeah, it was an interesting learning experience, and I thought at that time, yeah, this is the way to go with things as opposed to reacting. And it's kind of like if you get that email, if you react immediately, it is so much better. Because how many times have you? Well, I've done this. You've reacted to something, you've done something. You go to bed and you get up in the morning. You're like, oh God, I so wish I hadn't. If I could hit rewind, I so wish I hadn't done that. Versus the times where you're like, no, I'm gonna bite my tongue. It feels like I just want to react, but I'm gonna go play a violent video game for half an hour, and then I'm gonna have a quiet nightcap, and then I'm gonna go to bed. And you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, thank God, I didn't go and do the thing that I was planning to do. So I think, unlike most things in life where I say you regret the things you don't do, I think when it comes to reacting and feeding trolls, you regret the things you do more than that you don't. So not saying that you should never stand up for yourself or fight, because sometimes you have to, especially in 2025, it feels like that's going to be the case. But be reasoned about it and think about the outcome you're looking for. And it's probably not to fan the flames, because I said this in my old customer service days. If someone's up here and you meet them or go higher, there's only one way to go. You go to just ratchet up until it's just a screaming match, and then it's that whole, what's that internet thing where it's like someone will compare someone to Hitler, and then it's all over. So if you can come in down here at a reasonable level, then if they ascend again, then everyone around you is just going to go, oh, yeah, okay, so that person's doing that thing. That's the person that's actually
he's
in the
bully.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas, because you are then just looking like, oh, I'm sorry about that. That's just a thing. And it's like, yeah, well, they kind of run out of steam. And if they don't, then you just go block, ban, see ya.
Well, I've got to the point now, if I want to leave a comment on anything that's like, political or anything on YouTube, I've had to create another account. Right. And that's not, I don't do it to troll or anything. It's not like nasty comments. It's just like my real reactions like this. How can you say that about this? That's affecting so many people. It's like normal stuff I would say without being mean. But if I go and say that and just have an opinion on this account, I'm so scared that all these weirdos who think the planet's flat and all this shit are going to come over and start going and exploring their mental craziness into my channel. So that even too, you mentioned about comments. It takes a while to learn how to bite your tongue. And especially me, I've just struggled with that. For example, I had somebody in my chat who was kind of annoying, being a dick, and I removed them from the stream, and then they went and cried to a whole bunch of other channels, and then I got a comment on the video saying, like, pretty much very passive aggressive, kind of suggesting, why did you do this? How dare you do this? And I nearly wrote something back and then thought, you know what? I don't need to explain myself. I made the decision. My mods made the decision, and you can't go and watch the video and find out why, because all their comments are gone from the live stream. So I'm not defending it. If you were here, you know why. You would have seen it, and that's it. Because sometimes people just want to come and just start to create some drama that's not really there, and it's so hard to sit there but. Anyway, I've got off the topic because imposter syndrome, I've got so much better at managing imposter syndrome because I just look in the mirror every day and I'm horrified by what I see. And you know what? I'll just suck it up, deal with it. So we're all good there. Imposter syndrome, I'll tell you what really has helped me with imposter syndrome, walking around the streets, Pete, with a camera and talking into it, because you are walking through the general public and people looking at you and jumping in and going, am I on TV? And you just got to block everything out and go, I'm good, and not lose your shit and start getting self-conscious and going, am I good? So it's really helped me with a lot of that.
Yeah, and for those, by the way, I know that we use imposter syndrome. If you're not familiar with that, that's the feeling where you're doing something and you feel you're not good enough to be doing the thing you're doing,
Yep.
especially when you're being presented like we do as experts and telling people how to do things. Sometimes you get that feeling, and it's the same feeling you get like when you're working at a job and you come in day one and then you're like, you get overwhelmed and you look at all the people around you, you're like, oh God, these people all know a bunch of stuff. Or you go to one of those meetings like I used to in my old job where it's just all acronyms, and they're like, have you got the NDA report because we're doing the PQR next Thursday? And I'm like, sure. And then you have to just quietly ask someone that you trust, what's the NDA report? Because it's tough when especially when you're starting something new, or you're telling other people what to do. It can be tough. And again, my imposter syndrome flared up when I got that comment, because I'm like, maybe I'm not qualified to do this. And then I stopped and thought about it and went, well, no, actually, I'm confident and I'm clear in what I'm doing here. I've never said, you should listen to me because I'm an expert in all things. I've said, hey, I'm a creator. I want to create, record, and release my best music. I've learned a bunch of stuff, and I'd like to pass it on to you so that you can get started with creating music. And yeah, the people that have questioned me are always the people that use the number of years they've been doing something. Have you noticed that? That anytime someone says, I've been recording for 26 years, you know that they're shit, because they...
And I've got no content on my YouTube channel, but 26 years with no content. Okay.
And it's like, yeah, you've done it for a long time. You're probably way out of touch. There you go. Hello to Gertrude, by the way. Auntie Jean's in the house. That's always wonderful to see.
And Mr. Smith and Robbie, and there's been a whole bunch, but Russian Steel, there's a whole bunch of people who've come in since we've been chatting. I'm trying to keep up with it all. I think I got most of you. On that too, now I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No.
We go off on tangents. It's to be expected. If you've never watched one of these before, this is the show.
Yeah, we lose the plot all the time. Anyway, let's move on to physical stuff, because this stuff's important too. And this is, I'll start on this. One of the reasons I started doing Walk With Me was because of my physical health. And, actually the reason I started YouTube channel was because of my physical health, because it was so poor and I wasn't getting well. I just was sinking further and further every day into misery, not doing anything, staying in bed, just so I'd given up. And when the inconvenience hit, it was like, oh, wow. There's going to be a lot of people at home. This is probably a good opportunity to finally do this YouTube thing and maybe reach some people, and there's an opportunity. But the main goal was to get out of bed, because I had fallen into a pit. And, then you get out of bed and start doing the thing, and it's okay, and you start making content. And then you realize, holy shit, I'm sitting in a chair every day and I'm getting fat. What is going on? So Walk With Me was the extension of like, well, if I am going to continue to be able to keep up with doing daily content and sitting in a chair, well, I got to change the way my physical health is. I got to start getting out and walking around as well. So Walk With Me became a thing, and now it's a big part of the channel now, where I walk around. I bought a camera. I bought multiple cameras, a drone and everything, and now film these little walks. And for some reason, people want to hear me talk shit while I walk around. And you know what? Even in the time that I had to take a break, I put on all this weight again. I've only been doing this again for what? This is the 4th week, plus doing normal walks. I've already lost 5 kilos.
Yeah.
It works. It does work. And it's creating content. So physical health. Now, I know you walk a lot, Pete. Tell us about your walking adventures, because you walk so much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I walk because I do absolutely nothing else. Walking, the world is my gym, because I don't. I'm not. I tried the gym. I used to try to do gym stuff. I'm not a gym guy. I ran and jogged for a while, and then unfortunately let that lapse. Which, don't do it. It's weird as you age. You can do the exact same thing, and you can put on weight. So when you stop doing something, it can be really easy. And look, that was all around the inconvenience as well, because we all had to stay inside and. there was lots of restrictions and had the kids at home in the homeschool. So there's plenty of excuses as to why. But yeah, just having that walk, like it does so many things. It does give you the physical exercise, which obviously helps you getting the blood pumping. It helps the blood flows around your body. It flows to the brain, which can actually help you with your mental health, and it can actually help you with your creativity as well. So there's flow-on effects there. But yeah, even just the physical side of it, like it's been proven, like the people, and I kind of consider myself semi-retired now. So the reason I do a lot of walking is that I'll work all morning, and then I'll usually go out for 2-3 hours and just walk around and look at what's going on, and maybe get something like something to eat, which doesn't always complement it if it's a burger or something like that, but I try to eat healthy adjacent when I can. But yeah, it just really helps. And look, I know not everyone can do it, but I think it's the busier you are. This is the thing, and you said it in a similar way earlier. But if you don't think you have time to go for a 30-minute walk, you are not managing your time correctly.
Yes.
That might sound harsh, but it's true. And we have this false thing. I used to work with a lot of people that were always busy. You know, there's people that are always busy. They're racing around, and they're always telling you how busy they are, and they'll sit and they'll talk to you for 10 minutes about how busy they are and how many deadlines they have and how much work they have to do. And then 10 minutes later, you see them walk over and stand at someone else's desk for 10 minutes and tell them how busy they are and how much work they have to do and how many deadlines they have. And then they get to the end of the day and they can't go home at 5 o'clock because they have to sit there and work till 8 o'clock. Why? Because they've been running around telling everyone how busy they are. But it's folks like that it's like, well, the other thing is, even if you are trying, if you're not just telling everyone how busy you are to make yourself look busy, if you're working at even 80% capacity, like if you like mathematics like me, if you're a maths nerd, if you work at 80% of your capacity for 8 hours, you're stripping more than an hour out of your day. So why not take that hour, go and have a delicious lunch, and then go for a half-hour walk, and then come back and try and work at 95 to 100% capacity, because you're going to get the same amount done. And it's the same with people that are working like, oh man, I work at, again, the same thing. Everyone that tells you big numbers is usually trying to compensate for something. It's like, oh, I'm working 90-hour weeks at the moment. I've just got so much to do. And it's like, no, if you're working 90-hour weeks, you need to make some serious life changes and decide what's important to you in life, because whatever job you're doing that takes 90 hours a week, unless you're, a surgeon or a nurse and it's a pandemic where, yeah, thank you for your service. There's very few other jobs where you have to do that. And people get confused between the have to and the choose to. And I know that's a long bow to draw to go, hey, you should choose to go for a walk, but it has like 1,001 benefits to do, and it can really reset you and help both your physical and mental health.
Yeah, not only can it help your physical and mental health, you get vitamin D and all this kind of stuff, help your liver function properly, all these things, the blood pumping. It helps with your creativity. I can't tell you how much cool content has come from my brain and songs. It's great songs that I've written just walking around, because I like to talk to myself. I'm a weirdo. And I think, I think when your job is to sit in a room every day and pretend that you've got people that you're talking to in front of you, you start to actually talk to yourself. And before you know it, you're walking around your house going, hang on. You're walking around your house going, I think I'll get some milk out of the fridge, Jade. I'm glad nobody can hear me because I'm talking to myself in my own fucking house. But yeah, walking around, I normally will hum stuff, some kind of tune, and I know my phone's always in my pocket. I can just record it. There's been cool songs come out of that. There's been cool rants, ideas, show ideas that have come from this. Plus, it just clears your mind away from all of the constant bombardment of crap that is going on in the world at the moment, because so much of it, I think this is the first time in ages I've worked out, so much of it is crap. It's just bullshit. Like, so much of it's just hot air and words that never eventuates, especially from current people in power. Yeah. Because they are just trying to say this stuff to, like, divert so they can go and play golf. And that's the world at the moment. And you've got to really detach yourself from it, or you will get sucked into the void of
Yeah, I was listening to something this morning, and it said WMD, which used to be weapons of mass destruction, but these days it's words of mass distraction, and I thought that was awesome because so much of what we hear and read and see, and people on YouTube like you and I even, is words of mass distraction. Not that we do, but like a lot of the drama, it's just to distract. It's just to have your soapbox and have your opinion, and to distract people away from probably the horrible things that are actually happening. It's kind of like the whole, again, not to get into geopolitics too hard, but the whole China thing and the whole TikTok thing, it's a WMD. It's distracting you from the fact that the government allows data brokers to exist and to buy and sell all of your data on the daily to every company in the world, including Chinese ones.
Yeah.
Yet this one Chinese company is the one that everyone has to worry about. And look, it's as old as the hills. The whole scapegoating and the whole distraction technique. What is the Wag the Dog, that old Kevin Kline movie where they created a war to try and get the guy the presidency? Who would ever do that, right? That wouldn't happen in real life. It is just all bollocks. Again, in terms of self-care, I was thinking about that coming into the show here today, that I don't spend a lot of time listening to the news or following things, and I've had a social media diet. So when I went away, I got off social media for a couple of days. When I got back, I just forgot to get back on. And it was delightful, and I really enjoyed it. The only downside was that what was I doing? I was logging in just to make sure that my one of my shows went live, and then I noticed there was a GarageBand pack out. So the only news that social media gave me over that time was there's a new GarageBand pack, and I'm like, that's cool. I can handle that news. If it's new Apple stuff, that's okay. But so much of it is just has zero value.
I did laugh, Pete, when you went away. And so Pete goes away and says, all right, everybody, I'm taking a holiday. And I thought to myself, I'll bet GarageBand drops a new pack while Pete's away. And then they did. And I was like, awesome, Pete's away. I can get my video in first.
The happiest people were Patrick and Jade, because they could finally get a video out about the new pack before I could.
And I was saying to Brad and Russ and Leela, I'm like, I'll bet Pete's sitting there on holiday with his little phone going, and by the way, everybody, there's a new pack. I'm going to get this. Because, the content, it's cruel, man. We'll get to this too as well. The algorithm is so cruel. It doesn't allow you to take a break. It doesn't want you to take a break. It wants you here every day and filling the void with content every single day. Let's move forward. Are you frozen, Pete?
I have.
Yeah, you'll probably come back in a minute. You're frozen on my end.
Yeah. Can you hear me, or am I just...
I can hear you, but it's breaking up a little bit.
There you go.
There you are. You're kind of back, yeah.
I'll come off my. It's weird. My family have all just left, so I'm surprised that my bandwidth has gone down. I'll come off Wi-Fi and go to my wired connection.
You're almost back, but
almost back.
Almost back. You're here enough, right? We can see you kind of moving.
I'm like a ghost.
So the next, let's move on from because there was these other things. This is what I put in here: stretching exercises, blah blah blah, whatever. That's covered in walking. Eye strain management. None of us can stop that anymore because we're all staring at screens. So forget that. We're all going to end up blind. Yep. So sorry for the doom and gloom, but forget it. Your eyesight's ruined. We're all going to end up blind because we're staring at devices 24 hours a day. It is what it is. Time management and boundaries. Scheduling work versus downtime, social media time limits, and saying no. Let's start with that one, Pete. Saying no. How do you deal with people reaching out and saying, hey, Pete, can you do a thing for me?
Yeah, this one's a fun one. Because I used to not say no. I was thinking about this just the other day, that I used to be, weirdly, in my corporate world, I went from being a company man and saying yes to everything and doing everything I was told and being the good boy all the time. And then just before, like the last couple of years, I'd kind of done what's called quiet quitting, which is where I was doing everything I needed to do and nothing I didn't have to within my job. So I was doing the bare minimum. And it actually made me appreciate the power of no. Because there's 2 points I want to make here. Number one is that if you say yes, but know that you can't fulfill something or actually complete something, you're better off saying no up front. Because a lot of the time we say yes to please people, but saying yes and then not delivering is actually way, way, way worse than saying no up front. So if you look at something and you're like, that's unreasonable, that's impossible, I know I'm not going to be, it's like collaborations. Like, bring it back to the music world. If someone asks you to collaborate on something, they're like, I got this song and I want to have it done in 2 weeks. And you're like, yeah, 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 sounds cool, send it to me. But you know there's no way you're doing that within the next 2 weeks. Just say no.
Yeah.
Say, thanks so much for the offer. I'm really chuffed. And look, if you can delay it by 4 weeks, I'd probably be able to find some time, but I just don't have the time in the next 2 weeks to say yes. So saying no there is important. The other thing about saying no is, and I learned this in the workplace, is it actually makes people respect you a lot more than you'd think. Because no can actually be super powerful. And I used to, towards the end, my bosses would come to me, and if you work in the corporate world, you'll know this, that bosses sort of do seagull management, where they fly around, make a lot of noise, shit on everything, and then leave. And so the seagulls would come in.
I've never heard that.
They'd give you all these projects to do and to work on, and then they'd leave. But the great thing about bad managers, especially seagull managers, is that they never take notes. They've got no recollection. They've got no system in place to track what they've told you. So don't do it. Like, you write it all down, but don't do it. And then if they come back and ask you about something, just say, oh, yeah, so you actually gave me this to do that was the priority at the time. And I used to then say, because I tracked everything, my boss would come to me and they'd say, oh, where are you at with that thing? And I'm like, well, since that thing, you've told me to do this and this and this and this. So here are the 10 things that you've put on my plate. Which one is the most important? And it's so weird because they often can't sort of do that because they haven't ranked it. They're like, oh, okay. So I'm like, yeah, so I've got 8 hours today. Which of these 10 items should I focus my time on? Is it this one, then this one, then this one? Or is it, and like, oh, I kind of want you to do them all. And it's like, well, that's not feasible. So yeah, and it can actually make people respect you more. And by the end of it, people were like not tiptoeing around me, like I wasn't mean or nasty or anything, but they knew that if they asked me to do something, that I wasn't just going to say yes and just accept it and move on. I would say, and again, even if it's not a no, it can be a yes and or a yes but or a maybe. Like, there's nothing wrong with any of those responses as well. But yes, learning to say no, especially if you're a people pleaser, especially if you think it's going to be someone more powerful than you that has an impact on you, yeah, that can be really tough to do. But trust me that it will actually garner you more respect, and it will help you. It'll help you manage your time long term a lot better if you can say a polite no instead of a wishy-washy yes.
Yes, it's a hard thing to do, and I've got good at it now. It's like, no, I have this, and this to do. There's no way I can fit that in. It is what it is. Like, I already here on the channel overbook myself each and every week. Go, well, I'm gonna, like, even though I went away and filmed 2 episodes, went away for 2 days, I was still planning on learning to use learn this whole app and get back here at 9 o'clock at night, and the next day do this whole 1 hour and a half special on this app that, quite frankly, takes a long time to learn. It's a whole door. And guess what? I didn't do it. There was no time. You know, I was planning on doing it on the 2.5 hour trip back home from the holiday, and it didn't happen because I was just too tired.
Yep.
And it was okay. I said I was going to do it, and luckily I had a backup plan. You always got to have a backup plan for, but yeah.
That's right. I'm your backup plan for this show, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I have said no to you before, and
yes.
I say yes when I can, but if I'm on the fence and if I'm like, no, that's going to impact me in a negative way, I've said no before, and you respect that because you know that when I say I do it, I'm not doing it out of guilt. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to phone it in half-assed. I'm definitely going to do it. But if I say no, there's a reason for it, and I just simply can't. So, no is hard, but it's super powerful, and it's not negative. A lot of people think that no is negative, and it's like, no, it's not. It's managing. It's self-preservation. It's self-care.
I mean, also with time management, like just we'll use this example of me asking you to come and do this. If you had have said no, right? I know in my head, I know like I wouldn't have sat here and gone, oh no, what am I going to do? I'm totally screwed now. I know I'm capable enough to just create some kind of show and ask somebody to come on just to talk shit for two. You know what I mean? You can spark a conversation, and this is just from experience of doing this, understanding your time management, understanding people's boundaries, and having a group of people around you that you know you could actually reach out to. And if someone can't do it, someone else may be able to. And you know what? If no one can, let it sit on your shoulders.
Yep. And if you know that Jade's really hit the wall if she's got Brad example coming on talking about puppies. So it's like, Brad, come and talk about your dogs. He's like, oh man, my dogs bark so much. You're like, wow, Jade's interview shows have gone.
It would end up being about strippers as always. But,
he's like, this one time I cut open a bear and crawled inside. You're like, oh, okay. Brad, we've heard that story.
Do you know, interesting thing about Brad, and it's going to be cool because he's going to be here in like, oh my God, like 2.5 weeks. He's going to be here Brad's going to be literally here. We're going to be doing shows together and stuff like that, and making music together. Whenever you start any kind of conversation, and Brad will attest to this, he's probably watching in the chat, any conversation, Brad has a story that can go on from that story that you started, that whatever it is, doesn't matter, that involves a hooker and her tits. Somehow, it could be bought a new car. I had sex with a hooker in a car. He just is amazing at doing it. I don't know how every story relates to a hooker in their tits. It totally is amazing.
I wonder what my stories relate to now. Like, do I have a theme? No, it's probably not that.
Pete, do you put limits on yourself for social media? Now I know Pete doesn't have his. Now, many of us have smartphones, right? We all have our little smartphones, and we get all notifications going off, ding, 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 ding. Pete has no notifications, none whatsoever, not one. I've hung out with Pete, and Pete's hung out with me, and Pete's probably heard my phone go ding, ding, ding 100 million times. Not once have I heard Pete's phone ever go off.
No.
How do you, are you good at cutting yourself off from social media? Do you sit there and pine to get back on it and say some bullshit that nobody cares about?
No. And look, no one needs to go as extreme as me. But I made a decision, and like I read when I was in my sort of let's be productive phase and let's climb the corporate ladder, I read a lot of productivity stuff. And the one thing out of all of that and all the wankiness I got was the art of not being distracted and getting in the zone when you're doing work, and look, work, but also sort of social interactions as well. And I'm not blaming anyone, and I'm not having to go at anyone for not doing this, but I just decided that I want to focus all of my time, all of my energy on the thing I'm doing right now. And every time you get a notification, even if you don't go and do something with that, it takes you away from whatever you're working on, whatever you're thinking about. And especially when I was creating music, I realized that if I had notifications on, it would take me away from that, and it would get me out of the flow state, and it would get me out of the zone. So it started with emails. Like I worked in office cultures where the culture of email was basically like they treated email like an instant message. So someone would email you, and then they'd be at your desk 10 minutes later saying, "Did you get my email?" I'm like, I don't know. I check my email every 2 hours. And they're like, what do you mean? Didn't it pop up? And I'm like, no, I disable my desktop notifications so it doesn't pop up, because otherwise I can't write this report that you asked me to write, boss. So yeah, and look, that didn't really gel with the workplace I was working in that much. But when I was running teams, it did, because I could tell them. And I think the people I worked with actually appreciated it, because they knew that if I emailed them, that I expected that was like a 24-hour turnaround. If I instant messaged them, that was like a 30-minute turnaround. And if the shit hit the fan, I'd pick up the phone and call them. So it's not that people can't call me. And people that are within like my inner circle, so my family that are here that might have something that they need to contact me, they can text message me and that will notify me. But I realized pretty quickly, everything else can wait. Like there's very little, like we have this urgency culture and this important culture where we think that everything has to be immediate now. But the vast majority, 99.9% of things don't need to occupy your now brain. They can occupy your later brain. So you'll know that I don't check it immediately, but I'm also, it's rare that 24 hours will go by and I won't respond to something if
Absolutely.
you've sent something or asked me something. So it's not that I'm not responsive, it's just that I don't fit into that instant time frame thing. And that's a deliberate thing because yeah, I found that I couldn't do the work that I needed to do if I was distracted, or the work I did was lower quality. So, yeah, turn off your notifications, people. You don't need them.
I would say a quick load of your other people who've arrived. Sean Chandler, g'day. JDL. Who else? I saw someone else here. Javelle, hello to you. And I think I've got the new people who have called in. If you're watching, hey, if you're lurking as well, lurky lurk. We love our lurkers. Always watch it on the replay. Do the like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It does help the channel, blah, blah, blah. I was going to ask about this. Boundaries. For example, there was a person on this channel. They're no longer on this channel. This is a little while ago, couple in 2021. They started following me here. And they started leaving comments, and then they joined my Patreon, and then they sent a song to me to master on the Patreon, and then they sent me an email after I mastered their song, and then they told me they love me, and then I said I'm not really looking for anyone to love, and then they lost it and wrote a full-on 4-paragraph diatribe saying, is it about my looks? I know I'm ugly and all this shit, and you're an asshole for not loving me, and I had to block them across all social media stuff. Boundaries.
Yeah, and I do remember that. And you know, I've had not similar run-ins. Like I've never had anyone declare undying love for me or get super obsessed in that way. But yeah, there's definitely been people, and you kind of know it going in, Jay, don't we? And it's I've always said that. Yeah, it sounds horrible, but you kind of have to ignore the 1% of fanatical positive people and the 1% of fanatical negative people, because there's like a limit, and there's a difference between someone who you can tell just like digs and respects what you do. A Thomas Christ character. Like Thomas came into the channel and from day dot, well, he is the character because it's not his real name. No, but Thomas came into the channel and look, he was never disrespectful. He was never overbearing. He never didn't respect my time. When he'd ask for something, it would always be, what can I do for you? Not what can you do for me? And there's a difference there between some people who come into your world who you know are a little over the top. And I've come to the point now where I can work it out early on, because it's a little more than just, hey, good video, nice channel, appreciate your stuff. And unfortunately, the vast majority of those people, like your situation and your story, end up going negative, because the parasocial relationship that you can provide is not the level of real relationship that they are seeking. And that's really hard to make clear. And it's really hard to do without coming off sounding like you're arrogant or you're a dickhead, because you don't want to be nice to people. But again, the nice people, the Chandlers and the Gary Hubbs and the Thomases of the world are really engaged and really nice and really pleasant and will support you, but know where the boundaries are and know where the line is. And when people don't know where those boundaries are, it can be difficult, because you'll end up offending people. But I've just had to learn to be okay with that, and to not try and be too helpful. So the mistakes I've made where people have gotten too involved is that I've been too available and too helpful early on. Like I've gone above and beyond for people, and this is going to sound a little bit callous, but unless you're my family, you don't get my time for free to help you all the time. Like, I will help you at the level that I can help other people, but I kind of learned that this is my job. And if you were doing any other job where you're getting paid and someone said, hey, can you give up an hour of your paid work to come and help me move a couch? I mean, if they were a really close friend, or they were being evicted, or there was some sort of horrible situation, maybe. But in general, no. Yet, you know this well, if someone contacts you and says, I've got a problem with this app, and instead of, contacting the developer like I should, I want you to sit down with me for an hour and spend your time helping me work through this problem with this app. And no matter how positive and supportive and nice that person is being to you, unfortunately, back to the last point, the answer has to be no. Because if you set up that, hey, I'm going to help you with everything, and it's weird because if you say no and their response is, oh, diva, like, yeah, I knew that you were too good for you, too big for your boots, and then that you don't actually help people, you're all talk. Well, then you made the right choice. But again, because if you think in terms of the Chandlers and the Hubses and the Thomases of the world, they simply wouldn't do that. Like, there's no, even if they asked you for a favor and you were like, look, I'm really sorry, I can't do that right now, they'd be like, no problem at all, man. I totally understand it. Respect you, respect your time. So, yeah, I think understanding that and working with those boundaries can be hard, but yeah, you got to try and identify it early, I guess, and just be realistic about it and know that it's going to happen.
It's a hard one with apps for me because, you know, I've got so many tutorials and I get so many comments on videos going, hey, this app, this thing doesn't work. It's not working. How do I fix it? And it's like, I'm not the developer.
Yeah.
So I have to go and dig out the developer's contact details, and I'll normally try and respond with that. But it happens so frequently. It's like, oh man, come on, guys, come on. You got to. There's got to be some point where you realize I can't fix that. It's not my app. Like, I'm just showing you how to use it. But yeah, what are you gonna?
Yeah, there's a website called Let Me Google That For You, where you put in the term and then you send them the link, and it brings up a web page that's like a page, and it literally like types out the thing and hits enter, and then shows the search results. And that's a very fun passive aggressive way to respond to some folks when they ask you maybe something really basic, like, hey, how do I hard reset my iPhone? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Go to Google and type in how do I hard reset my iPhone, and it'll tell you.
You know, and the thing is, I don't want to leave those comments about the app, because that then encourages the person to go, oh, well, if I can't get it here, I'll just go to the App Store and leave a shit review. And that's the worst thing you can do. Those reviews stay forever, and an update can be fixed. Like, a developer can fix an app within a couple of days and have it on the App Store. You go and leave a review on the App Store and you're just fucking with that developer's product forever. And people are going to see that every time they look at that app. It's kind of stupid.
It is.
We are at a halfway point. Hello, Drew. We've got Drew here.
Yeah, I like
Digital
that comment from Drew, by the way.
It's a good
Yeah,
one.
people act like they owe you something is definitely a thing. And, you know, sometimes you do owe people something, like DistroKid, who wonderfully support this channel and this show.
What a segue. Let's just do it. Pete Johns with the segue and a half. Yes. Are you ready, folks? Let's do it. Let's oge. This presentation is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Introducing DistroKid, your ultimate music distribution solution. For just $29.99 a year, DistroKid empowers you to release unlimited tracks on all major music platforms worldwide, including Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, and so many more. Plus, use my link distrokid.com/VIP/JadeStarr and get 7% off your first year. You'll also keep 100% of your royalties and gain access to valuable tools like instant verification on Spotify and detailed revenue analytics. Don't let your music go unheard. Join DistroKid today and take your music career to the next level. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring today's presentation. Yes, thank you, DistroKid. You know, I always do it at the end of each DistroKid. DistroKid, I love you. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Creepy, I know. Let's bring Pete back over here.
They are rad.
They are
so
rad.
very rad.
They are the best. You know, hey, look, I'm such a small channel. I'm so lucky to have them sponsoring me, and I bust my ass to have good content, and, you know, I can't talk them up enough. They are the best. And I've been with 3 other, you know, companies over the years, And this is the one I'm actually the first time not losing money from. So that's good. Because every other one I was getting charged $400 a year and making nothing. It is what it is.
Like and it's tough. Like I was definitely in the hang on, which is the good one, the black. And then Spotify have made that very challenging with the number of streams I get with my music. Spotify not paying me or choosing not to pay me. It's line ball, but hey, I would have it there if I made $0. I'd still have my music. I like the fact that I could just go to Apple Music and play my own music, like just everywhere. I can go and ask my Bugalugs devices out there to play my music, and there's something super cool about that. I know it's a little bit of self gratification, but hey, it's all about self care here today. And we've talked about it before, but if you don't like listening to your own music, why are you creating it? You're probably creating the wrong music. You should rock out to your own stuff as much as possible because it should be exactly your wheelhouse, man.
Yeah, self-care is getting rid of those people in your life who go, you listen to your own music. Like, yeah, fuck off. Like, what? Why are you? Oh man, why is there a world out there of people who want to shame you and like, tut tut tut, listening to your own music? What a wanker! It's like, no, dude, you're the wanker. You're the wanker who's like wants to shit on everyone's parade. Like, just shut up. And you're right with DistroKid. I don't care if I make money or not. I feel like I have a digital divider from the record store. Yeah, it's that card in the, and I can anytime go anywhere in the world, turn around, meet some joker at the pub, whatever. Hey, here's you can stream it right now, whatever. Just go do it. So it's totally worth it for me. Absolutely.
It is cool. Yeah, and on those people, again, it's self-care related, but the people that are more focused on you than them, or at least appear to be, that's a disturbing thing because that's a form of lack of self-care. And I know that the old thing of saying that bullies are just people with low self-esteem, but it's so true. The people that are focused on everyone else is because they have imposter syndrome. They're feeling bad about themselves. They have low levels of physical, mental, emotional health and well-being. So what do? Instead of building themselves up or instead of actually analyzing their own lives and doing things better, they spend a lot of time pushing other people down, telling other people what they should and shouldn't do because it makes them feel more powerful and more successful. So, just think about that. Take it with a grain or a shaker or a mound of salt when you get that criticism. And again, the weird thing is that a lot of those folks won't criticize the specifics. They'll be very vague about it, and then they'll start talking about them to try and justify it. So people will say, your mixes are shit, and I've got 26 years of recording experience, so I should know. That doesn't actually help you or them with anything, whereas the people that are actually kind and professional and constructive will tell you what they don't like about it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it's just I was like to say, just ignore them. They'll go away. Apparently not. Apparently they're rising in numbers and taking over the world, the bullies. But we'll rise up again.
We got Manny in the house. I don't know if I said hi to Sean Chandler. I can't remember if I.
I think you said hello to Sean.
Costa's here as well. Clayton Von Kluge. I don't know if I said hi to you. See, my brain is such a mess. You go on holidays and you come back and you're more scrambled than when you left. It just is what it is. Let's talk about community and collaboration.
The C words.
Now, I'm a big person. I'm big into this first one. So supportive networks. I have a super supportive. I have a group of different supportive networks. I've got one on Messenger, which has a huge cast of characters. Some of them are here, like Hugh Caldwell, Gary Hubbs, and Laurie's Mishmosh, and Coldacre, and Leela, and just Vince Janelle. There's heaps of people in this little group, and we're constantly. It's not always just like helping with stuff. Sometimes it's just memes and emojis and stuff like that. And then I have Clubhouse, which has my Russ and Brad and stuff. And we're in there 24 hours giving each other shit, just having a place to go to that is away from creativity and being able to just chat shit and not have the internet police constantly watching every word you say, and I can go and chat with Russ and say a whole bunch of really horrible things and nobody's sitting there judging me on it because, jokes are bad these days, and we can say all the jokes we want and it's all private, but I really believe in having a network of people that you can go to and just go and just verbally vomit all over. because sometimes you got to get that shit out. Because doing this kind of stuff, you've got to YouTube's pretty strict on things you can say, and you've got to be very careful about what you say. I've learned that the hard way. My channel nearly got taken down just by recording a song about, I don't know, I feel like I can't even say it because, don't ever go out and say, hey, these people are want me to not exist. Hang on a minute. You can't put down that group of people who don't want you to exist anymore. Okay, cool. Forget about me not existing. It's them. But yeah, I think it's a really good thing to have a community where you can let the stinky air out of the balloon every now and again. So you don't do it here on the channel. Because, Pete, so much content on YouTube these days is just negative, 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 negative. Let's bring this person down. Let's destroy this person. This person said this one sentence and we're going to do a 3-hour essay on how shit this person is. There's so little focus on the positive channels who are trying to build people up. But when you have a channel or you even write music that's all about building people up, you got to have some kind of outlet to let the bad stuff out because it'll build up and then unfortunately you'll be on the channel and go and say this thing. Yeah. What's your take on that? Because I know you keep pretty quiet and sometimes you call into Clubhouse and it's always at the time when we're talking about something weird like anal or some kind of and you're like, wow. What if I
do pick good times. Luckily, I don't. Luckily, I'm not there when you're talking about me. So that's the plus.
Well, we're good. We love you.
Yeah. Look, and I think it's true. And I've formed an opinion of this because I sort of alluded to the fact before that I consider myself almost self-retired now. But I've seen other people go from having a lot, and they say that this is why a lot of people, as we age, we get more inwardly focused, and ironically and weirdly that makes us, instead of just sort of being cool and surrounding ourselves with cool people, it tends to make us so inwardly focused that anything outside of what we think and what we do is bad. And then the worst iteration of that is the people you see on the internet that have gone down some changes and have started making very public comments about things and getting into flame wars with other people on the likes of Facebook. And look, if you see a Facebook post from someone that says a thing that is comment phishing and then you see 56 comments, just run. Do not open that comment stream. It will be toxic. It will get to the point where eventually someone will be comparing someone to Hitler, and then it's all over. That's how you lose the internet. So, it's what was the question? No, it is. It's a challenge. I don't know. I've forgotten. But yeah, no, community is super important. And I think you're right, having the people that you know and trust is important. And don't use public forums to vent your spleen. Use the private forums you have, because public forums, you can't take... I say to my children, look, do not say anything to anyone or do not type anything to anyone that if it got out to the world, because you also can't trust the platforms and the digital places as well. If you think I'm sending a private message to my friend on Messenger or on Snapchat or whatever, those things get leaked. And especially if it's someone that, I don't know, I've seen it too many times that someone's having a private conversation with someone about someone else. And then that original friendship breaks down because the person does something the other person doesn't like. And then guess what? They have all the ammunition that they need, and the private conversation is suddenly public. So the reason I'm a little bit guarded around that sort of thing is I've seen that sort of thing happen so often. So does that mean that you can't ever have times where you vent yourself and you get frustrated about things? No, but I'm just saying, especially when you are deliberately saying things about people, I don't think that that's okay. I've worked in environments, and it's the bitchiness that it's always about. Oh, did you see that blah did blah with blah and blah did this with that? And that level of drama just creates this cycle of toxicity that if you get involved in that, it's like a whirlpool. You'll go down the drain with all of the crap in the toilet. Whereas if you just stand next to the toilet and watch it spinning and just wash your hands of the whole thing, you can actually stay out of a lot of trouble. That all being said, I had a boss I had a boss who, whenever their team were going out for drinks or something, they would invite themselves along.
Ah,
And they
no.
would always want to be part of it. And I was just like, oh, this is so awkward. And it wasn't that we specifically wanted to talk about them and to dump on them, but we wanted to have a conversation about the workplace in a safe environment that didn't include our manager, who could then go and tell their manager what we said about the workplace.
Yep.
So I learned that early on, that when I was leading teams, I was like, look, we can go out for drinks and I'll come to lunch with you. If you guys want to go out by yourselves, I'm all for it. And it was very weird. People were like, what do you mean you don't want to hang out with us? And I'm like, no, I do. But sometimes you'll want to talk about me and say things that I have to tell you to do that you don't like and you don't agree with. And you might not want to say them to me, but you sure as hell want to say them to someone. And I don't particularly want to hear them unless there's something I can do about it, in which case, sure, give me the feedback. But if it's just, oh, I don't like the way Pete combs his hair, I'd be like, I don't have any hair, but thanks for the insights. So yeah, I don't know. I know that was a big jumping around
That's what we
spewing thing
do.
of. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
but I think it just, yes, community's important. Having people you trust important. Having somewhere to vent important, but be careful because it can come back to bite you in the bum.
Well, we're kind of lucky as, I think most people here would be Gen Xers and maybe some baby boomers. I hate these terms anyway. But being a Gen Xer anyway, I can speak for myself here, probably Brad example as well. The internet didn't exist. So a lot of the things I did when I was younger as in a band and did and said, it can't come back to get me. And I'm pretty happy about that because I did and said some pretty fucked up stuff. But when the internet started, well, I kind of, we didn't know. You just, thankfully, most of the fucked up stuff I said on the internet, you have to find on Wayback Machine these days. So you need specific lookups to find that stuff. But I feel terrible for millennials and stuff who, and anyone past that, of course, who's just now this stuff is going to come back to bite them. I'll tell you, the best thing that ever happened to me, Pete, was getting banned off Twitter back during COVID, because there was a hell of a lot of stuff I said on Twitter that I'm so glad nobody can ever find again. It was, woo.
You were before your time. See, I wish I got banned off Twitter back when it was actually good, because then I would have had to watch it decline and go through what it went through. So,
well, I got back on recently on X because, well, here's the funny thing, right?
everyone's allowed now.
No, well, this is the thing. No, that's not true. Elon let all of the Nazis back on and all that. My account never got unbanned. It never got unbanned. I still can't get on now. I had to create a new one. But back in the day before he took over, you couldn't just create a new one. It would let you, and then it'd be banned in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But now you can just create because there's no holds barred. But I'm so glad all of that's gone because I know now not to say whatever my head is thinking on social media anymore.
Yeah, look, and we talked about minimizing social media, and I try to, but the occasional time I get on there, and it reminds me, it's a constant reminder, is that you jump on, and someone that I thought was someone that wouldn't say a certain thing about certain stuff says it, and the temptation to jump in and just to be like, what happened to you, person? Like, really? How do you believe? And then it's like, what's that going to do? Like, how's that going to help? It's like yelling at someone in traffic. It's like, oh, you cut me off, you dickhead, and then sticking your finger out. It's like, are they going to go, oh, you're right, I am an arrogant asshole. I should drive better. I shouldn't have cut you off. No, they're just going to keep doing what they do. In fact, they're going to double down because they're going to think, see, told you was against me and my shit driving. So, yeah, I've kind of realized that you just have to bless it and let it go. And look, it doesn't make me feel great because obviously we've got a lot of people in a lot of places in the world right now going through a lot of very bad things, and sometimes it feels like I'm not being supportive of those people because I know that they've got big fights ahead in terms of what they're going to go through. But again, self-care and self-preservation, yeah, getting in there and raging against all the machines and angering up my blood is not the best use of my time. I think that my time is best served providing information like this and hopefully helping it. So hopefully someone will get some little aha moment out of our chat here today and it will help them improve some part of their life. Or hopefully when they watch the happy hour and the opening hour on the weekends, they'll be like, yeah, I could just let my hair down and rock out for a couple of hours and not think about the bad things going on. So yeah, I know it sounds a bit like wishy-washy, but I think pushing the positive messages wherever possible helps other people. And it's the way I can help as opposed to getting into pissing matches with people on the internet.
There's just not enough positive messages out there. And when there are, they're just buried. And, you know, I think you got to, I just say it here all the time, mistakes make you better if you learn from them. And I've learned from the last time we had a government in power in another country that I don't even live in. And I got so sucked into that hole and partly because I was living there. I'm not living there here, I'm living here in Australia. So I had to make a conscious decision to just push it away. Sure, I care about my friends who are there and stuff like that, but you know, for my own mental health, I have to walk away from it. Now, a lot of people here are talking about collaboration. And collaboration, now I don't really collaborate a lot with music. It's something that I do want to do, but then I don't even make enough music myself. So there's that. But I do try and collaborate here on the channel with having guests on and having people have their ideas and interviewing people. So, you know, I'm into collaboration a lot. I collaborate with the people I trust and throw out ideas and see if they think they're good ideas. But a lot of people here in the chat, a lot of the musicians throughout this broad YouTube community collaborate heaps. And it's so healthy to see. It just, it tickles the cockles of my heart so much to see the people able to do this. And, you know, it's one of the, we focus on the internet so much being such a bad thing. Look at all the bad stuff social media has created, but look at all the good things it does create. Look at the music that people are able to do through emails and through a messenger and just sending these files across. It's truly inspiring.
Yeah, look, and yeah, it is. I love it, and I love seeing people from the community collaborate. And you know, the old I never get the quote right, but like the many is the better than the individuals, like the collaborate. Yeah, so you get better things out of two people than you would if they both individually, independently created one song, because you can bounce off each other and you can workshop things and you can play to your strengths and you can do all those sorts of cool things. So yeah, it is wonderful to see people get together and collaborate. And you're right that people blame the internet and social media for being bad. And those things can't be bad. They're as good or as bad as the people. And for those of us that were on the internet when it was quote unquote good, we know that it wasn't that it was good. There were just less people. And the sort of people that were on there were so amazed by the technology that they spent time nerding out over that more than fighting about things, until enough people came on that were more mainstream that could start fighting about things. So yeah, nothing is inherently bad when it's a technology or a social media platform or an application. It is just people. And unfortunately, the thing that is true is that some social media and some platforms are really good at magnifying and amplifying the negative, because people that were assholes used to be able to either just call and yell at their friends, call up to Talkback Radio and talk to Robert Smith about how bad things were in the world, or at worst go and stand on a literal soapbox on the corner and shout about how we're all going to hell. Whereas now they've got this absolute mouthpiece and they can surround themselves with other people who have the same feelings and the same passion for these things. And yeah, so the technology provides them with the platform, but it's still people being dicks at the end of the day. They're just louder dicks and more apparent.
And the thing is, it's generating so much money. Being a dick, I don't know. It's like I watch Hassan Piker. He's a leftist, you know, socialist, whatever, and he says this all the time. Look, I could be the best grifter in the whole world, but there's just no money to be made as a leftist grifter. It just isn't. But if I jumped on the other side, man, there seems to be an abundance of money going on there, and he's right. Let's talk about working smarter, productivity. Balance. Working smarter. I'm a big proponent of working smarter, of coming up with, look, I'm constantly putting down ideas, humming, melodies, writing down lyrics, coming up with show ideas, opening my notepad. And I have so many notepads full of show ideas. I know you're like this too. You probably have at least 5 years of show ideas that you can just pick and pluck from. Nowadays, we have things like ChatGPT that you can just go, hey, this is my channel. Jade Starr Music. I'm a YouTube content creator. I do rants on music and give me some ideas. I did it only yesterday and it came up with 50 ideas and I was like, wow, there's so much here. This is so good. And even stuff like talking about music, I'm a big proponent of this too. I've talked about it a bunch on the channel. If you write a song in Logic or GarageBand and you've got the perfect mix where you've got your guitar sounding great, your bass sounding great, your vocal sounding great, make a duplicate of it. Delete all the tracks, just keep all the tracks, delete all the stuff you've recorded and use that, sing that same duplicate template for every song on your EP. And you are going to have an EP that is consistent. Like these are little things, like just working smarter, creating templates. Like this, if you're doing a YouTube channel, you pretty much don't even need to write a description each day for your show because you just go, use the one from 2 days ago and just change a few things. Work smarter, work faster, save presets when you're making music, save automation patterns, all these things that you think, wow, that works really good. Take a minute, save it, make your life easier, and this will help you with self-care because it will give you the extra time to go and do other stuff. Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, look, it's. I know it sounds cliche because it is. Work smarter, not harder. And we've a lot of us have said it for years, and I've shared tips about efficiencies and doing things. And I have worked that out. Like there's a few things. I know you've talked about them on your shows in the past. The Pareto principle of 80-20, which is really, really apparent and relevant. The return on investment of doing different things if you are doing it as a business, if you have to. So I know the topics that people like, and I know I can ride the algorithm that if I've seen a few that are, because YouTube tells us, it ranks us and it tells us how good we are every day. It's like, that was a 7 out of 10, Johns. Oh, look, that's 2 out of 10. So I know if I've had a few bad ones in a row, I'll reach into my list of topics that I know are winners, that I know people will actually watch more than the other ones. And I kind of do. I do the 80% stuff that I know is going to be reasonably successful. And then I do one where it's for me, which is usually the podcast where I just get to walk around and rant about something that I'm passionate about, which is fun, which keeps me going and keeps me happy. So yeah, there's those sort of things. And then, like you say, we get carried away with the options, and you can get analysis paralysis. You can be spending too much time trying new apps, too much time trying new sounds, too much time experimenting and doing things. And that's important. I've always said, like, it is important to noodle. It's important to try things out. It's important to play around and have fun. But when it comes to actually recording your music, that's highly overrated. And what's underrated, like if you think about how music used to be created, if you're in a studio, or even if you're in your home studio and using like a 4-track, you didn't have 15 different echo effects and reverb effects and compressors. You had the compressor and the reverb and the delay, if you were lucky. So yeah, you're right, that if you're creating an album, and the same with guitar sounds and keyboard sounds and stuff, the best songs and EPs and albums I've created is where I've basically used one guitar sound with maybe 1 or 2 amp sounds. I've used one keyboard or piano sound. I've got my vocals tuned into the vocal chain that I want to use, and I just record, and you put it together with all those, and that's how my album came about, and it sounds good. And again, when you think about bands that were recording back in the day, they weren't like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Green Day and The Offspring weren't changing up the drum kit every time they played a new song, or changing guitars, or changing tones, or using different compressors and EQs on every different track. They were basically setting up, playing their 10 tracks, and then mixing and mastering them, and that was it. So yeah, we get carried away with all the choices that we have, and sometimes you can spend all the time just noodling about and 0 time actually producing, and that's where we get our 26-year veterans that produce no music. They've been doing it a long time. I mean, doing it, but not actually end resulting anything.
Maybe they're just Gen Xers and they don't have any stuff online, you know. It was all. I'm a bit like that. I feel like that sometimes that you say, hey, I was in this band and I'm back in because, you know, I still have, and I'm going to do this one day, going to do a show where I pull all the stuff from my VHS cassettes, from all the gigs and stuff, all the bands I used to, because I still have them. Because sometimes I feel like I'm telling people, hey, yeah, I did this when I was 15, and they're like, yeah, where's the proof? It's like, I've got it. I just, you know. I'm a Gen Xer.
It'll happen. Yeah. And like you said, I'm very glad that a lot of the things that I did do, there's only a few photos of me, but some of the fashion choice, the blonde tips of the early 2000s. I mean, yeah, that was a good look.
You never had a perm. I had a perm.
Didn't have a perm. I had the long Eddie Vedder hair, and then I had the blonde Eminem tips, and none of it was good.
I know you're a big supporter of this, celebrating the small victories. I love celebrating small victories, you know, because, listen, we live in a world where shit moves so fast. You know, you sneeze and you miss it. So it's nice to slow down. And look, Thomas has just put this, coffee is lifeblood. And it is nice to slow down and sniff the coffee, sniff the flowers and enjoy the small victories, because the algorithm of life is continually pushing forward and trying to get to the fourth turning.
Yeah.
And if you know what I'm talking about with the fourth turning. But like, it's continuously trying to get you to the next thing. Get the next thing, do the next thing. And we don't spend enough time celebrating the small things. JDL is somebody here who's in the chat. He does a whole lot of collaborations, pushes a whole lot of content. And sometimes I sit there and go, oh, man, I didn't even have enough time to enjoy the last one. But no, he's got another one out too. And I'm not, I'm not putting anyone down for the way they, but sometimes I think it's really nice to kick back and enjoy the little successes you have and make a little song and dance about it and go, yeah, I did this thing. And enjoy, celebrate. Open up a can of non-alcoholic or whatever it is and just celebrate, you know, that I got through another day of YouTube.
Yeah, it is. I'm a big believer in the small wins and celebrating them, but also chunking things down. And I learnt this early on that I would try to boil the ocean. I would try to do everything at once, and I would get into overwhelm. So an example was yesterday. So again, without going into too many details, I had the day before yesterday, I had a 24-hour bug where I was not feeling well and I was not really able to do anything, and I had no brain capacity and was just feeling kind of miserable. I woke up the next day feeling good, physically, but mentally I was like, shit, I'm going to catch up on a whole day. And I sat down and I looked at everything that I had to do, and I was like, oh my God, there's so much I have to do here. How am I going to get through all of this? And then I'm like, wait, Johns, chunk it down. Chunk it down. Here's what you're going to do, see. I had to have to talk to myself. You said you talk to yourself. I talk to myself. I'm like, here's what you're going to do, see. What you're going to do is you're going to work out the highest priority things you need to do. You're going to do them first. You're going to feel better. You're going to celebrate that. You're then going to go for a walk at lunch. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to go for a walk at lunch. You're going to buy some lunch, but then you're going to record your podcast while you're out walking, because then you're killing two birds with one stone. And then what you're going to do is you're going to edit your podcast on your phone while you're walking, which will get that done. When you get home, you can render your podcast on your phone while you do your thumbnails on your Mac. And then when you've got that done, then you can do these couple of things that were not priority. You can pay this bill, and then you can do this email that you needed to do. And then you're going to celebrate by turning off everything at 5 o'clock and going and playing video games and hanging out with your family. And it worked because I worked out what I was going to do, and I did it in chunks. Instead of saying, blah, throwing my hands in the air, I've got everything to do and I can't do any of it and I'm way behind, I decided to go, well, what do I start with? Well, I start with the first thing, which is that I've got to get this video recorded, edited, and put out. And then when that was done, went out for the walk. And then when that was done, edited the video. And then when that was done, rendered the video. And then when that was... So yeah, chunking things down can be really good. And giving yourself that enticement to get it done is a good thing too. I'm a big fan of positive time pressure. It's why I do a thing called Songtember every year, because it creates something, an end goal. And I know that there are people that probably burn themselves out a little bit towards the end of September to get their Songtember song done, because they want to be part of the big Songtember celebration. And they want to be part of that Your Music Live where we play everyone's Songtember songs. So the goal, the gift, the celebration at the end is we get together and we have a party and we all celebrate the joy of it. And guess what? Even the people that don't get a Songtember song, not looking at anyone in particular, or all of their Songtember commitments that maybe they make sometimes, they still come along and celebrate because it's not just about you. It's not just about your own thing. It's about celebrating other people's success too. So,
True.
yeah, you're right. Celebrate things and enjoy it and realize that you're not going to get everything done all perfect all the time, but sometimes you will, and you got to give yourself, again, be kind to yourself.
This is the section I hate talking about with music and creativity and YouTube and all that stuff with self-care, because this one's really hard. It's financial well-being. Because we've already discussed the algorithm is a cruel bitch. And when you start making some kind of living from music or from YouTube or Twitch or whatever it is, well, the time you take off is dictated by, I need to make this money to pay these bills or I'm fucked. And then that's when all this stuff that we've talked about before comes into play and works, right? So all this stuff leads to this. If you're able to get to the point of making some kind of financial payment for what you're doing, then you should be able to cope. Now, for example, I have a couple of sponsored streams I do a month, and I used to space them out. I used to do one at the start of the month, one in the middle. These days, I've had to change that because my rent is due on the 22nd each month. So I've got to do them early in the month so I get paid right, and it makes it harder to book people. I've had to change everything around, but you've got to be able to spin on a dime for this kind of stuff and make it work. Or guess what? You can't live stream if you don't got a house.
Yep. Yeah.
And budgeting too, man. Like, we all want new gear. And this goes for, anyone who's a musician. We all want new gear and we all want a new guitar, right? And I didn't start out doing YouTube for money. I think that's very important to start YouTube, not doing it for money. And if you just go hard at it, it can get to that. It can get to that. I'm not saying it will, but it can. But you got to be very dedicated, got to push super, super hard and all that stuff. But even with buying new gear, even with the way I built my studio, it's taken 4 years to build all this stuff and paying it off on like Afterpay over 8 weeks each thing. But seriously, you have to think about each purchase you make. I think, well, this is how I do it, and budget it and be very careful with what you spend, because you can fall into the trap of I'll just get this.
Yep.
And then you're fucked. It's very important to maintain. I hate talking about finances. They suck.
Look, yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people do. Finance has often been taboo, and talking about making money is taboo, and especially in creative endeavors and in music and stuff. And folks in the chat here are saying, I don't make money from music. I don't do music for money. Yeah. And I think that's really the best way to be happy and successful, is to actually come at it. And the same with YouTube and being a content creator. I didn't start this having any expectation that this would be a full-time job. It just kind of happened because I kept working at it, and eventually it got to the point where I could not do a real job, and this could be my job. So yeah, I think that's the healthiest way to go at it. But in terms of just, a lot of people miss the fact that financial well-being and budgeting and planning and that sort of thing, it doesn't only involve money, it involves your time. The old saying that time is money, but you've got to budget not only how much money you have, but your time. And you've also got to be realistic about things. And I talked about this on my podcast today, which was all about the music industry and people getting record deals, and the fact that they get a record deal at a very young age and they're not given any education around how to actually manage finances. And what do? They're like, I have all this money, I'm going to spend all this money. And not saving money and not having money for the future is a really bad idea, especially if you're in a sort of industry where you could be the hottest thing today and then dropped like a stinky potato the next day. That's a really weird analogy.
Stinky potato?
Stinky potato.
Wow, I've never had a stinky potato.
I don't know, stinky potato. But it's... yeah, and it's the same for most people I wish, and I'm trying to teach my children two things: critical thinking and life skills. And a lot of people don't have either of those. A lot of people just are going through life without critical thinking skills, which is why they get scammed by grifters, which is why they believe things that are unbelievable to the vast majority of us. Or the, I don't know, I don't even say the vast majority anymore. I think I'm the minority. I think the minority of people have
Yes.
critical thinking skills. The majority just follow
It's-
like sheep. Blah.
It's
It's shrinking. It's shrinking. But yeah, having the ability to actually understand what that means, and look, it's boring shit. To be honest, it's like the fact that yeah, I look at things and I'm like, yeah,
oh, Pete got him. Oh, Pete got
I got a message. I know
notification.
it's someone important because it actually dinged.
I know.
It's someone from my family.
I'm so
and
excited.
what did it do? It distracted me, and I
Yes.
lost my train
Yeah.
of thought.
You
But yeah.
check. You can check that if you want.
I will. I'll finish. I'll finish my point if I can remember it, and then I'll go to that. But yeah, things like the fact that when you're an independent creator or a musician, you've got to actually pay taxes, and you've got to
Yeah.
be able to. You got to be able to budget for that, because it's not like working a job where they take out all your stuff and your superannuation and your tax and your everything. Yeah, your gross amount is not the amount that you get. And again, this is why I don't get the violins out for me here, folks, but why I appreciate what everyone does and when you give a donation. But yeah, I know that if someone gives a $10 donation, $3 is going to YouTube, I get $7, and then another $3 is probably going to the tax man. So you kind of have to work extra hard. And I think a lot of people look at things like, I can't remember that site, that one that says, here's all the YouTubers and here's how much money they make. That's gross. That's not net. That's the amount that
Yeah,
it
and
looks
it's
like
wrong.
from the outside you get. That's not that doesn't include expenses, that doesn't include fees, and that doesn't include taxes.
Yep.
And when you do all of that, it's half if you're lucky. So I don't say that to discourage folks, but just to say that if you just look at the surface and go, hey, it's really easy to make a living wage doing creative endeavors, it's not quite as easy as it looks, and you have to spend a lot of your time understanding that side of it, which kind of sucks. And I've always said if I ever have enough money to be able to pay one person within the Studio Live Today corporation, it's going to be like a bookkeeper or an accountant that can actually do all of the numbers stuff for me, because I don't like talking about it, and I don't
I have
even
one of
really
those.
like looking at it and doing it.
Yep, I have one of those. I just taxes come and go. You know what? Here's all the things I've collected.
Yep.
You deal with it, and I'll pay you money, and just leave me alone. And if I had that on my head too, I would lose it here and not be able to focus on the things I need. You know, there are other things like delegating, outsourcing, especially on YouTube. I hear people saying, "Oh, you could get a video editor and stuff like that." You've talked about this a fair bit too. I like the process of doing the editing stuff. Like it's, you know, if it ever gets to that stage and somebody can make it, I guess it's got to like, you got to get some huge reward for it if you're paying those. You already got to be making a lot of money if you do. And hello to Rainfield Music.
Yeah. The other thing I'll talk about in terms of finance, directly related to that, is a lot of people have said to me, if you follow the like Sean Cannell video influencers way of becoming a famous star YouTube person, they say what you do is you hustle and grind, you create an audience, you create all these videos, you do all these batch recordings, you get all these things out, you create a course, you create a friggin' FAQ, a lead magnet, you then do marketing to sell your course, and then you build up passive income so that you can not do the stuff you're doing. But then you get to enough money that you can hire an editor, and then you can hire a social media manager, and then you can hire a person to handle your marketing, and then you get to be a big boss manager. And I'm like, this is exactly why I got into this, to not do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
To not have to hustle and grind, to not do things I don't want to do, to not have to manage people to do the work that's not going to be at the level that I want it to be, because I'm a freaking perfectionist at heart. So, yeah, I think people get a little carried away with that. It's a bit like the music stuff. Have your goal in mind. And I think in terms of your self-care, the biggest problems I've seen people get themselves into is when they don't know what success looks like for them. So if you get into music and you just want to be quote unquote successful, well, what does that mean? A lot of people here in the chat have said it means that I get to meet lots of cool people, make some new friends, share some music, and just enjoy myself. hey, guess what? If that's your goal, you can do that pretty easily. If your goal is just to get a song out there and released onto Apple Music and Spotify, because you've always wanted to do that, then that's pretty easy to do. But a lot of people have goals that are either well above what they actually want to achieve. They're aspiring to things, but they don't really know why. They just want to be a rock star, a superstar, a big house, nice car, all that sort of stuff. But not many people actually want to do that. But we're told by society that we do. So have a think before you start thinking you're not being successful or you're not achieving your goals. What are your goals? What does success look like for you?
Yeah.
Because you might already be there or it might be well within reach, but you just don't know. You haven't ever thought about what it is.
You got to define success for yourself first and define all these things, break it down, write it down, put it in a notepad and what it means to you, not somebody else. You can't live somebody else's dreams because, you know, it's just impossible. You're going to be just as unhappy trying to live somebody else's dream as being in a job that you hate going to every fucking day. You know?
Yeah, living above your means. Like a lot of people get stuck in that. And I was talking on the podcast too today about like the American dream is like, hey, anyone can bootstrap themselves and, you know, came to this country, started with $1 in their pocket and now they run 10 factories and are a multi-millionaire. Like that's kind of the dream. But why is it? Why are we told that we need an abundance? Why do we need 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 times as much as we need and want? Well, it's because of the whole keeping up with the Joneses. It's because of the whole flex culture where people need to buy the Lamborghinis and lease the big Hollywood mansions, which too soon, but how did that work out for some folks? Yeah, it's just bullshit. And just going, what do I want? Like, what do you actually want from this? And I realized quite a long time ago that I want to live in a house kind of like the one I live in, and I want to live in an area kind of like the one I live in. And I was striving to achieve more than I had without really stopping and realizing that I already had what I wanted. I was only chasing things because society told me I needed more. But I didn't really know why I needed more or what that more was, just that I needed more. So I shouldn't drive a Toyota or a Mitsubishi, I should drive a BMW. Why? I don't like cars that much. I shouldn't live in a 2-story townhouse, I should have a big block with a yard. Why? I freaking hate mowing lawns. So yeah, it's really weird when you think about it and you go, maybe I've already got the vast majority of the things I want, and maybe I'm completely off target. And look, that might not be for everyone. There might be some folks that are like, no, Johns, you're wrong. I hate where I live, and I hate my life, and I hate my job, and I want better. Well, then sure, strive for better. I'm not saying just be content with whatever you got. You know, shut up, it is what it is. You can change things, but just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not to impress Gary down the road because he just bought a Mercedes, so now you have to.
Gary's pretty cool, though. I don't know. I really want Gary's respect.
I shouldn't use names of people that are actually people in the chat.
No, of course.
Wasn't talking about you, Hubs.
He would laugh. He would laugh. So we're going to close today by talking about some positive stuff. And I just want to, Semtex Cow wrote this. And, you know, Manny's written something in here too, the passing of his, I think it was his mum. I think I saw right up ahead. Man, this comes to this question here. How can we all be as human? How can it be as humans we all suffer the same shit and yet we still hate on each other? Well, that is the $25 million question at the moment, isn't it? We've already worked out the meaning of life is 42, so we can sail past that one. But this is the big question I think we need to work out. That's going to take us to the next place. I mean, we all can. Manny's written here that, you know, losing somebody, we all can empathise. We all can understand because we're all like older people now. Even if you're young, you've probably, you know, experienced this. But at the same time, we still can't just go, yep, you like that? That's all right. I don't give a shit. I don't know if we're ever going to get to that, and that's for another show completely. Let's finish on this. Creative joy and inspiration. I want everybody in the chat to give us something that you've created, that you are, just one thing, something you've made, something you've done, that you super love and you super makes you happy and you're very proud of it. Just that one thing that you can look back on and go, bang, fill us full with it in the chat. Pete, I'm going to start. Do you have one of those things? Just one thing that you can think off the top of your head. I really like that thing that I did.
I do, and it's so left field and it's so random, and it's really got nothing to do with music. It is a YouTube channel I created with my wife about 7 years ago. It was called $2 Looker, which sounds very weird and sounds very creepy, but it was an idea that we had. We were having a drink at the pub one day, which is where all the best ideas come from, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool to do a show where you buy things for less than $2 from like eBay, and then you open them and you compare what they originally were, there you go, to what the description said to what it actually was. And we did about 30 episodes of this. You can find it there on YouTube. Just search $2 Looker. And it was just an absolute blast. Like, I had fun. We did it for no other reason than we wanted to. Yeah, the kids got involved.
Look how young they are there, man. Look how young they are.
So we just had, just for fun. And it was a really joyous time because I got to spend a lot of time with my wife, spent time with my kids. We stopped doing it because we realized that we were destroying the environment by all this stupid packaging coming over from China with all this stuff we bought. But so we couldn't do it long term. But and it wasn't successful at all. But it was successful for me because I was doing that while I was working full time and while I was doing Studio Live Today. And I learned so much. I learned so much about content, about editing, about cameras, about audio, all the things that I needed to learn about to do this channel. That helped me with that. So yeah, it was just an absolute blast, and I still look back on those, and I'll have times where I go back and watch all the episodes myself because I'm proud of them. I thought they were fun, and they were exactly mine and my wife's sense of humor. So it was like a little package, package of joy that we put together over 30 episodes, and yeah, we got to hang out and do fun things. So yeah, go
Criminally
check it out.
undersubscribed at 22 subscribers. Seriously, I've been subscribed to this channel forever, and they're really funny videos. They're, I think me, you, and Georgie, we share the same sense of humor, so
Yeah.
I think they're really funny. And I wish you would do more of them because they are fun, and I think now, I just think now more people would probably get in on them because they know more about you and stuff like that.
Yeah, look, we had a terrible name. Like $2 Looker was a fun
I think
idea
it's
at the
a great
time.
name.
It was like $2 Looker, but I think some people looked at that name and went, "Oh, that's a bit risque and bad for like the algorithms and stuff." But
I
we
think
didn't
it's
care. We went with it anyway. So yeah, I don't think I have $2looker.com anymore. I think I got rid of that.
I
'cause
think
was paying $15 a year for
I
it.
think it would take off even more now because we've seen, Pete, that when you have Georgie on the show, your numbers go up much higher than when you're just on the show.
Well, yeah, and I think it's absolutely true, and I think with my improvements in editing skills, even those 3 and 4 minute ones could be 1 minute TikToks, and I think I could repurpose them, and I could probably own the TikTok algorithm with some
Yes.
fun there from the past. So yeah, but yeah, again, it's fun and it's worthwhile doing things that just don't. I think we get absolutely caught up in productivity. And if like me, you've read all the books and you're into productivity and stuff, you forget that a lot of the joy and a lot of the fun comes from things that are 100% frivolous, that have absolutely no purpose apart from to entertain you and give you joy. And that's what the Jetsons told us that we should do. The leisure time, the ability to do what you want to do, to sit by a pool, to sip a glass of cool juice and to just do nothing or to do something or to do what you want to do. Isn't that what we're all striving for? Like, we all get very caught up in the day-to-day of we must be productive, must make more money, must do more things, must...
Yep.
No, just have some fun sometimes. It's all good.
I asked the question, folks. Robbie Stingle says, my music. My music, that's what gives him joy and all of that. Ali says, befriending a wild wolf. Awesome.
Love it.
Lily Pillies, I really like the lasagna I cooked last night.
Oh, I love a good lasagna.
You know-
I bet Manny makes a bellissimo lasagna.
I bet he does too. Absolutely. Where are we going? Let's see. Thomas says, all my music, especially finishing a new album, finally after 2.5 years and everything I've done on my YouTube channel.
Mm. Oh
it's-
yeah,
yeah.
I'm super proud of Thomas. Like Thomas took the plunge and did something that was out of his comfort zone, and that has paid off in droves and has helped a lot of other people achieve their goals too. So kudos to Thomas.
Yeah, and you know, Thomas is one of those people too. We kind of said this at the start. We see Thomas every day here, but I don't get to talk to Thomas that much one on one. And when he pops in the Clubhouse, I know we're all like, "Thomas is here! Yay!" We get so excited when Thomas comes in. We don't leave again, Thomas. Tremor Bear says that I was able to work 30 plus years and build a pension. Blows my mind because I'm a lazy ass person. And yes. Mark Bro says, most proud of the way I was raised, the way I raised my daughter. She's an amazing mum and a wonderful human being. So it doesn't have to be about freaking music. John Swanston, in addition to my music, I enjoy pencil drawing. Wow. I expect to see that in a video clip. If you haven't already done that, maybe you have. Proud, Semtex Cow, proud of my part in making my son. I love that. Mrs. did
He's
most
like,
of
here's
the
the
work.
video.
Mrs. did most of the work, though. Oh, God. Oh, gee. You guys rock so much. Have I missed anything? Tremor Bear, to pay the phone bill and electricity bill. Yeah, yes, true. Greg says, I guess the stories I wrote that won the Melbourne Anime Festival fan fiction writing competition one year.
Nice.
What?
Greg has so many I was going to say
know.
skeletons in the closet. That's not the right way, but so many weird little hidden talent things that he does. It's nuts.
Let's see if I got anybody else who's put anything
I
in.
like Rainfield Music there. Little
Where
League
have I
baseball
missed
coach for a dozen or so years. I know many of the
There it
kids
is, yes.
now have been attending their weddings. Yeah, how good is that when you see people grow and you know them from young time, and then you see them develop into real humans and members of society. It's super cool, isn't it?
Mine is Walk With Me.
Yeah.
I say it, and so I shot 2 episodes over the last couple of days when I went away. And I had a bit of a rant in the second episode as I was walking along the beach, dragging my feet along, and found a swimmer crab in the ocean and had fish following me through the water and filming them. And it really struck me that I really love doing this. I used to travel overseas heaps. I've been 3/4 of the way around the world. And I miss it. And I thought that doing a YouTube channel, sitting here and doing this, no, I know what I really want. I would love to travel and just talk shit to a camera and just travel around and eat food and walk everywhere. I do love doing it. It makes me so happy to get out the house. I forgot how much I like getting out the house. Not that I do. I think one of the reasons I stopped getting out the house was because people. But like I said earlier, walking around with the camera, I've learnt enough to cut people out of my peripheral vision, but at the same time still be wary that they're there just in case one of them punches me from behind to steal my camera, right? Because you've got to think about that stuff, but you've got to talk to it and be one with the camera because you're talking to the audience and be aware of your surroundings. But I just those last 2 days, just being in these amazing places and being awestruck every moment of every part of the trip of just, look at that sky. Look at the sand. You forget just how magnificent this world is because sitting here and watching YouTube and all the stuff, we're constantly told everything's shit. So, yeah, the thing is, Walk With Me is one thing that super excites me, and I just love that I decided to do it and wish I could do it every day. That would be my dream.
Yeah, touch the grass, look at the sky, and do the things you want to. And I
take
think
people
that's
places, because we all can't go places,
And that's a perfect example of, yes, you're slave to the algorithm, but you don't have to do everything for it. Like, you can do things that are for you, and I'm sure they're probably not the most watched and successful shows, given the amount of effort you put into the editing and the recording. But yeah, you got to look at what you get out of it as well, and do the things that make you happy. Someone said that to me one time.
It's interesting doing that kind of content, Pete, because you can get wrapped up in the moment of thinking, oh, is this going to look good on the video? And it has to be a balance of am I enjoying doing this? Oh, look at that. And And if you can find that balance, then the surprise in each shot that you take, you are enjoying it in real time. And then by the time you edit it and watch it back, because in the beginning of it, when I'd watch it back, I'd go, wow, that whole trip, and it's turned into 1 hour of content. It seems like such a lot of effort for so little. But now I've moved to this mind frame of, wow, I've got this whole 2 days to do this thing. Oh, and poor you guys, you only get to see it all condensed into 1 hour. Wah. Like, I'm the lucky one here. So, yeah.
Totally.
We're going to close on remember. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, go on. I like that Rainfield Music said, take a moment to enjoy the coffee and orange cranberry muffin.
Yes. And we're going to close on possibly this thing, though. The last thing I want to restate, it's kind of one of the messages I've tried to push on this channel. Remember why you do these things. I know there's so much going on in the world, and you know, there's so much going on in our own personal lives, and loss, love, financial stuff. There's just always something going on. But if you're able to somehow find a way to remind yourself of why you do this thing, just like for the longest time I've said on this channel so many times, I used to have this little post-it note attached to my TV that said, you're doing this to get up each morning. It's gone now, but it's so drummed into my head now that I don't even need to set my alarm each morning, because I just wake up at 5:30 going, oh, I know what I'm doing this to get up each morning. Like, drumming that stuff in, reminding yourself of why you do this is super important, because you can get lost in the weeds and it can all become overwhelming. And as soon as it does that, all this stuff we've talked about today, take a break, go do something you like, but remember why you're doing it. And once you know why you're doing it, you'll be able to go and remember why it's good to go and do other things to keep the why. Does that make sense? I don't know.
No, well, it does to me, but and for the longest time, I didn't do what I wanted to do, and I didn't know why I was doing the things I was doing. And it does. You got to step away. It's you learn to do in strategic thinking. It's like there's the ground view, and then there's like the 30,000-foot view, and there's everything in between. So sometimes you've got to go up a few levels and look down and go, what am I actually trying to do here? No, really, what's my end goal? What am I aiming for here? And look, you don't always have to have like I said, you don't have to have a goal with everything you do in life. Things like $2 Looker didn't really have a goal. We just wanted to have some fun, but that was the goal in itself. But for other things, you might actually have an end goal that you want to go towards. But no, I agree that, knowing your why, start with why. There's a guy called Simon Sinek, and if you want some motivation and encouragement, go check out Simon Sinek and watch his YouTube video called Start With Why, or read the book, because it's so important. A lot of us get stuck in the what and the how and the who, but we forget about the why, and it's super important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pete, for coming on here today. Thank you, everybody, for being here in the chat. I can see people are leaving. They've got things to do. We've gone over a little bit. And look, thanks as always for supporting the channel and coming in and hanging out with all these shows. I've got to tell you a few things. So let me just check. Is it up yet? It's still processing. Listen, about processing video at 4K, Pete.
Yep.
I started uploading it at 10 p.m. last night, and it's now 10 a.m. and it's still processing the 4K upgrade. It should be up very shortly, folks, but here is the thumbnail for it. Tomorrow, Friday, UK time, 9 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern US, 1 p.m. On the other coast. The other coast is, of course, Walk With Me, the first episode in Geelong. It is about an hour and 20 minutes. Man, I'm so proud of this episode. Episode 5, season 5. So that is happening tomorrow here on the channel. There'll be a dump. I don't know if the dump will go because the video is still not up yet. It's so confusing, but please come and join us for this. It's a premiere. Also, just want to cover this as well. So I have the opening hour. The opening hour. I'm doing a Counting Crows thing, because the last time I did Counting Crows, guess what? They removed it because I did the whole album start to finish of August. So that got deleted. So we'll do some Counting Crows. Also, coming up this weekend, and I need to remind you all of this because it's very important, is, give me a chance, is, of course, Camp Gmail has Kurt Fest happening. Here it is here, Kurt Fest. So many performers. There's like a million performers playing to raise some money for Justine to support, the passing of Kurt. It's going to be a massive show. You're not going to want to miss it. Heaps of guests. It's ridiculous. So make sure you do that. Anything you need to plug while we're here, Pete?
No, I have my usual plethora of shows happening over the weekend. So we've got a happy hour, we've got Your Music Live and GarageBand Weekly. So yeah, tune in to those. And what I will say is that a lot of people say, I don't never know when you're live. When are you live? When's your next live show? Pete Johns, sorry. Wrong address. StudioLiveToday.com/live. If you just go there, it will take you straight to the YouTube playlist, and I keep that updated with all the live shows that are happening and about to happen. I'll even add this one in so folks can go back and watch the replay of this one if they haven't already.
And the rant this week, I think, thanks to ChatGPT, is going to be about, I can't remember. What's it called?
Memory?
No, what's it called when people live vicariously through streamers?
Oh.
I can't think of the word. Somebody help me in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, all I can think of is parasocial relationships.
Parasocial relationships. There we go. That's what we're talking about this week on the rant. And I see Pole Vault. G'day, Pole Vault, lurking around there. We're going to go out with one of your songs again, but again, remade by somebody else. It's the same song as we kicked off with. Thomas Christ, who we've mentioned today, is a legend. He's awesome. And he did a cover of Work in Progress, because we're all just a work in progress. It took me ages to get that out of my head, and now it's back. Thanks, Pete.
Now you'll all have it for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete, so much for always helping out here on my channel, and,
Happy to come off the bench, be part of the team. Concussion substitute.
You rock. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys rock as well. And thanks to those watching on the replay. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together. Stay awake. And this is a work in progress. Pete Johns and the TC remix. Let's Oja.
Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Nobody's doing all they can. Not everything will go to plan. You might be set up, or you might get fed up, or maybe just need a helping hand. Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. We all have doubts and things to know and learn about. That we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. When everything just feels so hard, you need to strive and you'll go far. It's hard to grow up, but if you show up, you'll shine and they'll see what you are. Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. With what we know, we all have time and room to grow. Cause we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. The shame and pain you feel inside, perfectionist is why you hide. Trust in yourself and you will see you're not alone. Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. With with what we know. We all have time and room to grow. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. 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 Nobody's got it figured out.
And I'd just like to say a big thank you to, of course, our sponsor for today, DistroKid. Use the link in the description, distrokid.com/VIP/Jade, so to get 7% off your first year. Thank you, DistroKid.